let's dig in a little bit to the command line interface. We are going to become familiar with some commands. Then in the next section, we're going to actually look at the structure of the file system a little bit. If you're familiar with Windows, you're familiar with Mac, you have these home directories and user directories and all of that. Well, the same is true inside Linux, and Kali Linux is no exception. So we'll get to talk about the file structure, but let's talk about some of these terminal commands as well. If you're familiar with PowerShell on Windows, well, let me open up PowerShell. Okay. Basically, you can do all of the same sorts of things that you can do with PowerShell, or if you're familiar at all with the command line inside Mac OS, you're going to find a lot of similarities here to Linux. So I've got my outline open up over here. I've opened up terminal. Now you say, how did you get this thing open? Well, all I did was in Kali, the top left corner up here, terminal emulator. Okay, so that's all I did. And then I made my font big by using Shift Control Plus. You can do, well, so, there we go. Control minus. Um, will do make it smaller again. So you can make it bigger and smaller on your font. So Shift Control plus, and then Control minus, and that will make it bigger or smaller, depending on how big you like it. Okay, let's dive in to some of these commands, and then we'll talk about structure in the next section. So I'm going to go down through the list just like we have it in the outline. So PWD, that's not password, okay? That's print the working directory. So PWD, home Kali. So slash home slash Kali. So if I go change directory, if I went CD slash home slash Kali, I'd end up in the same place. Um, PWD. So that's print the working directory. So anytime, any place you're at. So like last time I was in desktop and I was in my sample files and I'm hitting tab to autocomplete. And then I was in, let's see, I think I was in playground. Yeah, I was in playground. So if I do PWD right here, there's my entire directory right there. So that is going to make it easy for you at any time. PWD, print working directory. Along with PWD, let's talk about the ls command. So ls is short for list, ls. So if I ls'd right here, right? So I did ls, and that gave me the files in here. Okay, so by doing ls, I can see that I've got two files in this directory. If I do cd space dot dot, take me back one tier. That should take me to desktop sample files because I'm in desktop sample files playground. So we're going to go back one, and now I'm in sample files directory. Now, if I do ls here, it gives me the directories along with the files. Now you notice that the directories show up in blue and the files are showing up in green here. By the way, you can totally customize all these colors, right? If you really like that hacker green kind of look, you can go in here and tweak some things. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. That'd be your own little homework assignment if you want to make it yours and have some fun with the way that the shell looks. But again, this is called the shell, right? We're in the shell. We're working in the shell terminal, I should say. So if you want to adjust the way that that looks, you can totally do that on your own. Okay, so that was ls, list. Give me a list. I'm here, give me a list. I'm going into this room. Give me a list of everything that's in the room. That's basically what you're doing. Then you're backing out into a different room, and then you're saying ls. Give me a list of everything that's in the hallway or in this other room. Okay. Let's see. We've got so we've done CD, LS, and PWD. Let's do make directory, mkdir. So if I want to make a directory, mkdir, um, let's go test directory. And if I do ls, Now I have test directory in here. You see that? Test directory right here. Okay, so that's how you make a directory. Well, how do you get rid of that directory? Boom, rmdir. So make directory or remove directory. So that's how you make a directory inside the terminal. Touch. This is a cool one. So anytime you want to just create a file on the fly that's empty, you can use touch. Touch, and let's call it this file dot txt. If I do ls, now this file dot txt exists in this directory. Okay, so I just did a touch and created a file. It's like a magic, like a little magic finger. Touch, boom, the file exists. So that's touch. Now I want to get rid of that file. I can just do rm space this file dot txt, remove. Okay, so that's remove. Well, let's give myself another file. Let's touch another file. Let's call it touch, touch, and let's call it test file. Let's call it touch logs dot txt. And so now I've created a logs dot txt file. Again, it's empty, and I could move this file. Let's see. Let's see, did we do copy? We got to copy and move. Okay, so let's copy this file first. CP is copy. Okay, so all of these are just short, right? It's not copy spelled out like that. I made that mistake on the last video. Sometimes when you go back and forth between operating systems, you get accustomed to certain commands and you forget which, and then you kind of like get in the zone. I got to get in Linux mode. But CP is copy. So I could say copy logs.txt to logs2.txt, press enter, and now ls, and now I have a logs and a logs2.txt. So I copied logs to logs2.txt. Now I'm going to remove those rm logs.txt. I'm going to rm logs2.txt. And going back to touch for a second. And let me show you another thing. LSA all. So ls and then a all dash a all. So if we do man ls, right? Man is man pages. So we do man ls, that gives us all the commands. And a is all. So hyphen a dash a. This is a switch, command line switch. And I did L too. Where's L? L. Use long listing format. So I didn't have to do dash A space dash L. I could just do dash AL, and that combines them together. I'm going to do Control X to get me back to the prompt. I'm sorry, Control Z to get me back to the prompt. Let's do LSAL, AL, and that's give me all in the long list format. There we go. And oh, let's do move. We got one more command we got to do. So let's do MV for move. So let's move this whole directory, test directory, into playground. Okay, ls hyphen AL. And oh, where did it go? Well, let's go into playground, CD playground, and ls. And there we have test directory. Well, that's great. Let's move it back. So we can see our structure right here. Okay. So let's do move test. I'm pressing tab for autocomplete. And I'm going to take off this slash on the end of that. Let's just move that to desktop sample files, ls, cd dot dot, and that took us back one lsal, and now test directory is moved back in here for us. All right. Well, that's really cool stuff. What happens if we touch something that already exists? That might be a question you might have down the road. So let's touch sampleconfig.txt. And now let's do lsal. Look what happened. The timestamp changed. The timestamp was 9:42, and now it says 14:45 or 2:45 in the afternoon. That's the time here right now. Um, this is one way that y- files can get touched and changed. Remember last time we were talking about how important it is to make sure that your original files, like if you're doing some forensic analysis of some logs, you don't want those to be touched, right? So think about touch, the word touch. You don't want those to be touched. You want the originals maintained. You want them to be hashed. You want them to be protected. So this is something you need to know because you could accidentally touch a file and then people don't know whether or not that file has actually been modified. So that's good. Okay. So we've done move. Oh, let's move a file. We haven't moved a file yet. So let's move sample log.txt. Let's move that into the test directory. Let's go into the test directory and see if it's there. And sure enough, it's there. Let's move it back. Move. And that's all I had to do was hit tab because there's only one file in there. So it wasn't like I had to select anything. So if I started just typing sample, could do that. Let's move it back into the previous directory. And now ls, and again, we're empty, move back a directory, and there we go. It's back. So that's move, copy, rm for remove. We've done touch, rmdir, make directory, cd, change directory. We've done ls for list files, and we've done PWD, which is print working directory. So that's going to give you some basics for navigation. You're going to want to be able to practice that on your own, navigate on your own, make some files, move them around, make sure you understand how these commands work, and get really comfortable with them. And I'll see you on the next section.